So now we're going to learn how we can aim down our iron sights like most modern video games have you do. A lot of games back in the day, you just fire from the hip and you were good to go. These days, players like they have the ability to hold down an aim button so their accuracy increases and whatnot. This will also play into the future when we start adding recoil. We'll be able to adjust hip fire accuracy versus iron sight accuracy. So why don't we just go ahead and get that set up? It's a pretty fun little system to set up. All right, so we're going to do some unorthodox things real quick. First, we got to pretty much set up like a pseudo rig, I guess you could say, for our gun system. So we're going to start by making a few empty game objects. Let me expand this. I'm going to make about 3, and I'm going to reset all of their transforms to 0. And in this first one, we're going to call it gun. This is just going to be a parent for our gun model. And next, we're going to have hip position. Yeah. And now we're going to have aim position. All right, so what we're going to do with our gun now is we're going to unparent it from our first person controller for the time being. And we're going to take our gun prefab and we're going to reset its transforms. So we're really wanting all of our guns and all of our new, let me just bring this down, all of our new little guys right here, all to be at a 0 transform. But we do want to take this gun and rotate it 90 degrees in the Y direction. We do want our gun facing forward like so. All right. So, I mean, if you're using a different gun prefab, it may already be facing this direction. Basically, just have it pointing in the direction that it was previously. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take our gun prefab and we're going to duplicate it twice. But we're going to stick with our main little prefab we have here. I'm going to hit apply to update that prefab information. And this, for all intents and purposes, is our main gun model. This has our shot spawn, all the good stuff we like. These two guys up here are going to be, I guess, ghost image placeholders so we can easily position where our gun's going to be. So to do that, we're going to go to materials, and I'm going to create just a temporary material called transparent matte. And I'm going to go to a rendering mode and set it to transparent. And I'm going to bring down its transparency in my alpha channel. So I do that by clicking on the color palette in my albedo and bringing down the transparency like so. All right. So why don't I just go ahead and turn off that gun for the time being so I can easily see these two duplicates right here. And I'm just going to apply my transparency to both of these guys. So now we have like a ghost image of our gun model. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to parent these ghost guns underneath hip position and aim position. And I'm not going to worry about them for right now. I'm not really going to touch them. So what we're going to do now is we're going to position these ghost gun images to where we want them for our hip fire position and our aim position. And notice how we have a nice little ghost image. That's going to really kind of just be a signifier that that's not the real gun. This is just a placeholder for our hip fire position. I'm going to have it out in front like so. And for the time being, I'm going to take my transparency and maybe not make it so chunky. I still want to be able to see the gun a little bit in this phase. And then I'm going to take my aim position and I'm going to position it kind of like how I'm having a little bit of trouble seeing if I'm aiming down the right sides because everything is so white. Well, for right now, I guess what I'll do is if you're having trouble seeing that ghost image thing, I'm going to go ahead and apply the regular gun mat to it. Now I can see how my gun is ADSing. And I'm going to try to get that iron sight right where their little crosshair is in the middle of my screen. All right, great. So you'll notice that the two positions, our hip fire is a little bit forward, and then our ADS is a little bit back. Maybe I'll bring the hip fire back to a little bit. Just set it to where you think is good. All right. And then I'm going to put my transparency back on this gun These are just temporary placeholders, like I said. Some way where we can physically get a good idea of where our guns are going to be at whenever we're going in between scope mode and not. All right. And for my gun, I'm going to activate it again. And I guess what I can do is just kind of position the gun in the default position, which is going to be my hip fire, like so. It doesn't have to be exact. We're going to write some code that really snaps it into place where it should be. But for all intents and purposes, just for the presentation's sake of my character controller, I'm going to try to match it up decently. All right, great. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to my ghost image gun prefabs, and I'm just going to deactivate them for right now. I don't need them. They've already served their purpose, but I'm not going to quite delete them because I may want to make tweaks in the future. So I'm just going to deactivate them like so. All right, so now we have our gun, our hit position, and our aim position. What we're going to do now is we're going to parent them all under our first-person character camera controller again. So when we press play, it's business as usual. Nothing's really changed, right? But now we have sort of a mini rig system set up with target positions and parent for our gun. This will be handy whenever we add our recoil effect in the next video or so. All right, so now we're going to get into our coding, and we're just going to bring up our shoot script. And it's not that much code, to be honest. Lerp makes it really easy. All right, so I'm going to get rid of that one, get rid of that one. Those are old scripts. I'm going to make sure I'm working in the right one. All right, and we're going to start from scratch. All right, great. So now that I got the right script pulled up, we're going to make some new variables. The first one we're going to make is a public float, and we're going to call this aim speed. This is going to adjust how fast we can go into our iron sights and back into our hip fire. The next one we're going to make is a public game object for our gun, and then two more for our aim, or let's say hip position, aim position. And if you wanted to do shorten your syntax, you can do pause. Pause is kind of the shorthand, universal shorthand for position. But for readability's sake, for the lecture, I'm just going to go like so. All right. I want to zoom in too on the code a little bit. I always forget to do that. All right. So we have a new aim speed variable and these three new public game object variables. And all we got to do now is just go into update and add some code for our right click. If input.get key, then we're going to do key code, mouse, we're going to say mouse 1, finish off those brackets, and we're going to say, all right, we're going to take the gun transform position, so the position of our gun prefab, or our gun public game object that we're going to assign in a second, we're going to say the position of our gun model equals, we're going to do a vector3 dot lerp. Same thing we use to transition our camera nice and easily on our beat 'em up. Whenever we would finish killing our enemies, the camera would snap to our player smoothly. Same thing going on here. So what are we going to lerp between? We're going to lerp at our current gun's position, gun model's position, and oh, that's not spelled right, is it? I'm not going to make a syntax error, so I'm going to start that over. There we go. It only took me 3 minutes. All right. So where we're gonna start is our gun's current position. Where we're gonna go, if we're holding down our mouse button, is our aim position dot transform dot position. And how long is it going to take us? Well, that's going to be our aim speed. All right. So now we can just say, if we're holding down our mouse button, we want to gradually transition to our aim position. Else, I'll just do a normal little bracket. And I'm going to actually copy this line of code because it's pretty much all we need. The only thing different is we're going to transition to our hip position. So if we're holding down the mouse button 1, a gun transform position, our gun model's position, is going to lerp or smoothly linear interpolate its position from the current gun model's position to our aim position that we set up with those ghost gun images, and it's going to do it in this amount of time, our aim speed time. If we're not holding down mouse button, then we're going to take our same gun position, we're going to smoothly transition from the current gun's position to our hit position in the amount of time that we aim, our aim speed. Hit Control S to save that. No syntax errors. We're going to go and select our first person controller. And now we got to set up some new variables here. I'm going to make a 0.3 aim speed. And now I just need to drag and drop these game objects into the correct position. Make sure that you're putting hit position into your hit position and your aim position into your aim position. It can be a little confusing. That's why I like to order my stuff in my hierarchy as they're listed in my inspector. All right, so let's test it out and see what's going on. All right, so I'm going to hit play. All right, so we got a nice little hip fire. Nothing's changed. I'll hold down my right click, and boom. Now I'm getting a nice aiming position. And it's nice because whenever I move my gun, my shot spine moves with the barrel of my gun, so my bullets follow the end of my gun no matter where. You see that weird little spread I'm doing? So you've just learned how to program, that cool new next-gen shooter feature of aiming down those iron sights. All right, cool. I just think that's so slick. Relatively easy and painless, huh? And the gun's even got a nice little iron sight. The gun may not be well made. It was just a free one I picked up online somewhere. You're welcome to make your own or pay for one that's a little bit better. But the one thing I do like about this gun model is it has a nice little iron sight for us to use, like so. All right, so that does it for this video. The next video, we're going to see if we can start adding a little bit of recoil, and we're going to modify kind of our shot spread, a script that we made for our space shooter game, to physically, if you look in my game view, to physically move our gun around as if it was shooting, kind of just create this random effect. That'll not only make it look more realistic, but it'll also add a bit of accuracy to our gun and the fact that it's recoiling, so it's shooting bullets out pretty much in a spray. So that's what we're going to do next video. All right, see you guys there.